The door just slammed shut, Bears Nation, and the clock is ticking. The edge rusher Chicago fell in love with, signed somewhere else. The best one on the market already has a new home, and the Bears are still sitting on 35 sacks, with hungry rivals ready to eat up the entire market. But there is a report about the general manager that lays out exactly how this organization thinks, and it is going to mess with your head. And if that was not enough, a $72 million linebacker just got cut. And the name Chicago is circling as a replacement comes straight out of the enemy locker room. Everything is on the line right now. Do not go anywhere. News 1, Khalil Mack, Max Crosby to pass rushers. This one hurts. Bears Nation saying this as straight as possible. This really hurts. Khalil Mack, the one who for 4 seasons was an absolute nightmare at Soldier Field, the player the city of Chicago gave standing ovations to year after year, just slammed the door on any chance of coming back to the city that embraced that player like one of its own. This past Saturday, Max signed a 1-year deal worth $18 million to return to the Los Angeles Chargers. And with that, any hope of seeing that player in Bears Navy and Orange again is buried. And here's the question for every Chicago fan, and take a second to really sit with this. How many more times are we going to watch players we love walk away or stay away while we just keep waiting? Because this is not only the hit of losing Mac, this is the hit of what it means to try to build a legit defense for the Bears right now, but that is not the end of it because the market did not stop there. At the same time Mac was locking in that deal with Los Angeles, the Las Vegas Raiders announced they had agreed to trade Max Crosby to the Baltimore Ravens in exchange for 2 first-round picks. 2 first-rounders. That is the price for the best edge rusher available in the league right now. And the Bears were not even in that conversation. Now the Ravens have Crosby, the Chargers have Mack, and Chicago has a to-do list that gets longer by the hour. Here's the thing, and hear this clearly, because the frustration in this fan base is absolutely justified. Last season, the Bears finished tied for 22nd in the league in total sacks with just 35 quarterback takedowns. 35 sacks in an entire season, and out of those 35, Montez Sweat was responsible for 10 by that player's self. That means the rest of the defense combined only produced 25 sacks. That Bears Nation is not the defensive line of a team that wants to win a Super Bowl. That is a 5-alarm fire. And now with Mack signed somewhere else and Crosby packing for Baltimore, the outlook just got a whole lot tougher. According to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, the Chicago Bears could use help with the pass rush, but at the same time, the report says the organization does not seem desperate to land a big-name pass rusher. And that, friends, is exactly what is most worrying, because if Chicago is not desperate, then what is the holdup? The rest of the league is not napping. Fowler also reports that teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys, and the New England Patriots are going to be active in the coming days chasing exactly the type of player Chicago needs. That means the competition for the remaining pass rushers is going to be brutal. Trey Hendrickson is the biggest name left on the market, but Fowler points out that Dallas has liked that player since before the trade deadline, and if the Cowboys go all in on Hendrickson, Chicago loses the best option on the board. Jalen Phillips, Odaf Owe, and Boy Mafe are also in play, but Fowler warns that all of them are firmly on Dallas's radar over the next few days. The way it looks, if the Bears do not move fast when free agency opens Wednesday at 4 in the afternoon, they are going to be stuck with the leftovers, and in NFL football, leftovers do not get a team to a Super Bowl. Names like Joey Bosa, Joseph Osai, and Kayvon Chason are also being floated as possible targets for Chicago. But the reality is their prices are going to skyrocket as soon as the market opens, because as teams miss out on the top-tier options, they start scrambling for the second-tier guys, and that inflates those price tags like crazy. Here's the problem. That is the absolute worst-case scenario for Chicago, because that is how a team ends up paying premium money for a second-tier player. There has to be full honesty here. The DJ Moore trade to the Buffalo Bills brought back a second-round pick that gives some flexibility, but that does not erase the urgency on this Bears defense right now. Chicago has to generate pressure on quarterbacks and cannot lean only on Montez Sweat to do it. So here is the question, Bears Nation. Can the Bears build an elite defense while playing it conservative in the edge rusher market? Or is this free agency going to go down as the offseason when every big opportunity slipped away? It seems Ryan Poles has a plan. And in the next segment, the details of that plan are going to come out because there is new information that changes the way this whole situation looks. Do not go anywhere because this is just getting started. If that already surprised you, wait until you hear what is next. News 2, Ryan Poles, Estrategia Defensiva. All right, Bears Nation, here's where things really get serious. After everything about Mack and Crosby, a huge question is hanging over this fan base. What is Ryan Poles doing? What exactly is the general manager's plan for a defense that finished among the worst in the league in quarterback pressure? And the answer that came out today is going to spark a lot of debate in the comments. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN dropped a report that gives a pretty clean window into how the Chicago front office is thinking, and the exact words used were these: yes, they could use help with the pass rush, but I do not get the sense Chicago is desperate for a splashy pass rusher. A lot will depend on the price. Interior rush help could be the way to go. Read that again. Not desperate for a splashy pass rusher. Interior rush help could be the way to go. That is basically the opposite of what most fans in Chi-Town wanted to hear after a season where the defense was a ghost when it came to getting to the quarterback. And there are mixed feelings about this, and it needs to be laid out as clearly as possible. On one hand, Poles is right not to panic. Panic is the enemy of good front office work. Handing Trey Hendrickson or any other top-shelf edge rusher a deal in the $20 to $25 million a year range when the roster has other serious needs could wreck the cap. Chicago fans still remember how a couple of bloated contracts handcuffed the team for years. Poles clearly took notes from that era. On the other hand, there is a hard line between being conservative and being passive. And this needs to be said plainly. In modern football, if a team cannot get to the quarterback, that team is not winning in January. It is that simple. There has not been a single Super Bowl winner in the last 10 years that did not have a high-end pass rush. Not one. So the real question is, can Chicago actually contend for a title if the pass rush strategy is to spread $5 to $10 million a year across multiple guys instead of investing in one high-impact name? Now, there are parts of Poles' plan that are legitimately exciting. After the DJ Moore trade to Buffalo, the Bears now have 2 second-round picks in the draft, and this year's edge rusher class is deep. Very deep. Poles can use one of those second-rounders on an edge with real day-one impact potential and then pair that with a more reasonably priced free agent. If executed correctly, that is a smart path. The interior defensive line has to be part of this conversation too, because Fowler mentions a key detail. Grady Jarrett is sitting on a contract of around $50 million, and the Bears are getting calls on Gervin Dexter about a possible trade. Moving Dexter would be a massive mistake. That player had 6 sacks last season. 6 sacks from the defensive tackle spot is exactly the kind of production that does not get replaced easily. That is exactly the type of player Dennis Allen needs to make this defensive system work. And speaking of Dennis Allen, the new defensive coordinator has a very clear philosophy. The defense should have multiple players who can create pressure from different spots rather than relying on one superstar. That lines up with Fowler's reporting on Chicago's direction, but here's what needs to be asked, and it has to be taken seriously. Is there trust that Poles and Allen can actually build that kind of defense the right way? Or is Chicago going to hit week 1 with the same pass rush issues that dragged this team down in 2025? The draft and this week of free agency are going to answer that. Poles has the draft capital, has some cap space freed up after the Moore deal, and has a defensive coordinator who knows exactly what type of players fit the system. The city of Chicago deserves to see a team that consistently gets after the quarterback. That makes opposing quarterbacks shake the way the old monsters of the Midway did in this franchise's best eras. Look around for a second. While the Bears are being conservative with the pass rush, the Packers keep quietly building a solid roster. The Vikings just blew a chance to move on from Jonathan Greenard in a deal with Chicago that never materialized, and Detroit, still the team to beat in the NFC North, has a defensive line that was built with real intent and depth. Chicago has to answer that this week. And now comes the wild part, the piece that ties directly into everything about Poles' plan that was just laid out. News 3, Alex Anzalone, Tremaine Edmonds, Time for the third piece of this puzzle, Bears Nation, and this is the one that has been stuck in the mind the most. It ties directly into everything that has been discussed and adds a divisional drama angle that is honestly fascinating. The Bears cut Tremaine Edmunds. That is the starting point, a linebacker who signed a $72 million contract, who racked up 112 tackles last season, who in 8 NFL seasons has never finished under 100 tackles in a year. 8 seasons, 100 tackles, every single one. That is consistency, that is professionalism, and still, Edmunds became a cap casualty, released right before free agency to free up about $15 million for Chicago to work with. From a financial standpoint, the move makes sense. It really does. When a defense has 22 potential free agents and the team needs to manage money carefully, sometimes a tough call has to be made. But losing a linebacker that basically guarantees 100 tackles every year is not something that gets fixed by just signing some random body off the street. A very specific profile is needed to fill that very specific hole. And this is where it gets genuinely interesting. According to Jeremy Fowler at ESPN, the name Chicago has circled as a replacement for Edmunds is Alex Anzalone, linebacker for the Detroit Lions. That news has layers that have to be unpacked. First, the coaching connection. Dennis Allen, the new defensive coordinator in Chicago, worked with Anzalone with the New Orleans Saints. That is not a throwaway detail. When a coordinator has coached a player before, there is knowledge of strengths, weaknesses, how that player responds when things get hot, what that player is like in the locker room. That familiarity is extremely valuable in ways that do not show up on a stat sheet. Allen knows exactly what can be expected from Anzalone, and that cuts down a lot of the risk. Second, the player profile. Anzalone is 31 years old, and over the last 5 years with Detroit has started 73 games, putting up 490 tackles, 9 sacks, 33 passes defended, and 3 interceptions. Fowler specifically points out that coverage is a strength, and that is exactly what Allen's system needs. A linebacker who could drop into zone, run with tight ends and backs in space. That is gold in a league where quarterbacks live in the middle of the field. Third, and this is the fun part, this is about poaching a key piece from the Detroit Lions. That is exactly the kind of move Chi-Town fans eat up. If Anzalone comes to Chicago and helps solidify Allen's defense, it means the Bears are taking a resource right out of Detroit's core, and right now, the Lions are still the most complete team in the NFC North. That has a special taste to it, Bears Nation, and nobody can honestly deny it. Now, the risks have to be laid out too. Anzalone is 31. In the NFL, that age for a physical contact-heavy linebacker usually means a team is paying for the last 2 or 3 good years, not 5 or 6. That is not a move that builds the long-term future. It is a move to stabilize the present. And that can make sense with Caleb Williams hungry to win and an offense that is ramping up. But the defense cannot be the weak link. There are also young in-house options like Ruben Hippolyte II and Noah Sewell, who deserve chances to grow. If Anzalone arrives, those snaps get squeezed. Poles and Allen have to find the right balance between bringing in vet experience and developing the young talent already on the roster. The safety situation has to be factored in as well because Fowler reports that the Bears are going to try to bring back Kevin Byard III this weekend, but it looks like Jaquan Brisker is on the way out. That means the back end of this defense is going to look different, and the combination of choices at linebacker and safety is going to determine how dangerous this defense can really be in Allen's scheme. Here's the bottom line as clearly as possible. If Chicago manages to land Anzalone, re-sign Byard, keep Gervin Dexter on the interior, and find a reasonable answer at edge rusher either in free agency or the draft, this defense can take a real step forward. Allen's system is proven. The pieces are starting to line up. Chicago has been waiting way too long to see a team that has both an offense led by Caleb Williams and a defense with real bite that can legitimately contend. But everything depends on the decisions made in the next few hours. Free agency officially opens Wednesday, and whatever happens between Monday's negotiation window and Wednesday's contract signings is going to decide whether the 2026 Bears are real contenders or just another team in transition. The City of Win does not have endless patience, Bears Nation. Chicago fans have taken too many gut punches, watched too many promising seasons turn into letdowns. This offense has the talent to win. This defense has the right coordinator. Now it is on polls to put the right pieces on the board. Bears Nation, listen up, because what is coming next matters, and the comments need to be loaded with answers. Straight up, with all the passion that comes out of Chicago. On the pass rusher market, with Khalil Mack back in Los Angeles and Max Crosby headed to Baltimore, the window is closing fast on the Bears. The question is simple: should Chicago break the bank and pay whatever it takes for a top-tier edge rusher like Trey Hendrickson, or is there trust that polls can find cheaper answers that still get the job done? Drop that answer in the comments right now, because this is the biggest question facing this franchise. On Ryan Poles' plan for the defensive line after hearing that Chicago is not desperate for a splashy pass rusher and might focus on the interior, here's the direct question: is there trust in Ryan Poles to build an elite defense with a conservative approach? Or is this strategy going to leave the Bears without the teeth needed to go toe-to-toe with Detroit, Green Bay, and Minnesota in the NFC North? Get into the comments, because this is a conversation that has to happen. On Alex Anzalone coming in to replace Tremaine Edmonds, a player coming straight from the Detroit Lions. Who knows the NFC North inside and out? Who already has the trust of defensive coordinator Dennis Allen? Is Anzalone the right move for the Bears, or should Chicago be looking at younger options or different choices in the linebacker market? Leave everything in the comments, and here's the most important part of this entire video. Whoever made it this far, who stayed until the end, who lives and breathes navy blue and orange the same way, is already part of something bigger than a YouTube channel. That person is part of a Bears family that does not give up, that demands more, that celebrates every win and feels every loss deep down. This community belongs to the fans just as much as to the host, and it is being built together every single day. If there has not been a subscription to this channel yet, this is the time. Hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on the little bell so nothing gets missed, because this free agency week is going to bring more explosive Bears news, and this channel is going to be here to break down every move in real time. With the passion of someone who grew up loving this team on Chicago streets, hit like on this video if there is belief the Bears can build an elite defense this offseason. Subscribe if there is belief that Caleb Williams and the Bears are going to be in the Super Bowl hunt sooner than anyone expects. And comment, Bears Nation, drop everything that is being felt and everything that is being thought, because every voice matters here. Bear down, Chicago. This is just getting started, and the best is still coming. Until next time, family.